Hey everybody, I'm Mike. I'm here with Guitar.com live with my friend Carlos Lopez. He's one of the master builders at the Fender Custom Shop, and I'm sure you've seen his amazing work all over Instagram and the rest of the internet. He's doing some really exciting stuff, and I'm excited to be here with him. Carlos, how you doing?
Doing well, doing well. How are you?
Hey, yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. It's a little smoky here and there, but we're relatively safe. Are you holding up well in this new age of social distancing?
Yeah, I mean, it's different, but we're adjusting. We're trying to
Mhm.
live life the way we can, and
Absolutely.
it's affected everybody, but we're got to keep pushing, be positive, and hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Are you able to get into the actual custom shop now? Or I remember seeing Ron Thorne was building from home. Is that something you're doing, or are you still going into
Yeah,
work?
yeah, it's kind of a little bit of both. If there's some stuff I could do at home because I have my own shop, then I'll stay home, bring some wood back,
Oh,
and do my stuff there. And but
oh,
for the most part, yeah, we're here when we can be, and we're at home when we can be. So it's a trade-off, I guess.
oh! It's really great that you have the option. I didn't realize that you were able to kind of take work home with you.
Well, I mean, it wasn't something that's it's not it's a new thing. I think you know what I mean. It's just like if you could, I think a lot of us have shops, in our garage, or Ron
Mhm.
Thorne has an amazing shop. Uh, he could work from home, all the time if he wanted to, but yeah, we try to we're making up the rules as they come. You know what I mean? Because it's everybody's adjusting to the new norm of things. So we have the luxury to work at home. We do just to
Mhm.
keep people safe and so nobody else gets sick and try to stunt the spread of this virus as much as we can.
Oh, that's
We're all
great.
doing our part. That's what I want to say. We're all doing our part.
That's excellent. What's your home shop set up like? What's that look like?
I got a CNC pin router, drum sander, all the hand tools, routers,
Uh,
everything that I need to make a guitar I have in my garage. Even paint, I can do it
really?
all.
You've got paint booth?
I don't have a paint booth, but on like the simple stuff, I could paint necks in my garage. I haven't, but I haven't needed to. But if it came down to that, I could do that very
That's
easily.
absurdly cool. Is that taking up your whole like basement or your garage?
Yeah, my garage is dedicated to guitar building. So there was when me and my wife were looking for a house. Uh, you know, I didn't really care about anything else. I want a detached garage in the back with the gate around it. Get whatever I want. That was our deal. So it
It
worked
sounds
out.
familiar. So, Carlos, let me first say that you are one of my favorite builders at the Fender Custom Shop because you're doing so many
Thanks.
interesting and unique things, and you're utilizing overlooked or unreleased models. It seems like you seem to have an eye for those oddball models that never quite caught on as well as the Strat or the Tele. I first became aware of you with the baritone brawler from a few years back, and thought like, oh, that's the coolest body shape I've seen. And I knew that that was unique to Fender. I've never seen anything like that. Was that your idea?
It was, yeah. I was making those in my garage for a few years, and I was, making them for friends, and it was just something that I came up with, and I made a handful of them, and they're floating around somewhere.
This is so
People
cool.
have them, but when I got promoted, I brought it to the guy's attention, and I said, "Hey, what if I put this in NAM? Would it be okay?" And they said, "Yeah, go for it." And they gave me the green light, and they kind of opened up the floodgates with that. And so I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
all right, what else can I do?" So that's how it started, really. And so they put it in, and people liked it, and it's gotten a little bit of attention. So I'm happy that it's a lot more people are uh, beginning to see what I could do, or odd things that you really don't typically see from Fender Custom Shop. I mean, Strat Tellys, you know, jazz basses, you know, all the foundational models, you know, they're never gonna go away. They're the foundation of, you know, electric guitar builders. You know, that's what they start from. But you know, my interests have always been, I love the offset guitars, you know, because of, I said this before, because of Kurt Cobain. That's just my generation, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, Kurt Cobain was my guitar god, you know what I mean? And so it's, and, you know, and Weezer and, you know, all those guys from that era, you know.
Ah, you're speaking my language, Carlos.
Yeah.
You're hitting all the right buttons.
Yeah, that's where, it's weird. It's because, you know, everybody has their idols that they idolize when they were growing up. You know, they gravitate towards the music of their generation, and it just, there's so much that's involved in that, coming from, you know, as a kid. There's so much emotion. There's so much, you know, the music that's touched people, and it's weird that you could identify it through a guitar. You know what I mean? It's like, well, yeah, the Jaguar. All right. For example, you know, when you think of, you know, when I think of a guitar, you know, I do think of Strat, but I also think the first thing pops in my mind is a Jazzmaster. You know what I mean? It's like,
yes.
Are you just, and the cool thing on top of that is, like, if you would tell somebody that is like oblivious to guitar, doesn't play guitar, and you just told them, draw an electric guitar, they draw Strat. Right? That's the first thing they do. So it's just, you know, Fender has deep roots, and it's, everybody knows what a Strat is. Or but for me, the Jazzmaster was just I like that guitar. That looks good. You know what I mean?
Oh, that sits right with me. I got to tell you, that's the first thing that I think about when I think about a guitar. I am constantly thinking about and working on Jazzmasters. So, like, hearing you say that, that's the coolest thing ever, man. I am so excited. And it seems like, from what you told me about the Brawler, that Fender is open to your ideas as a builder. It's not just that you're hired to recreate everything, all of the standard models. Like, you are actively adding to the line.
Yeah, it's weird to even think about that. Just, you know, I don't know, whenever I retire or whatever happens first, that guitar is kind of always going to be in the family now of Fender guitars. Like, that's a pretty cool thing to think about, you know. It's just, wow. I didn't really think about it until you brought it up, really. It's like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
You're leaving your mark.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it was never really my goal, you know. It was like, I didn't seek out, I'm going to leave my mark to, you know, just to be, that wasn't my driving motivation. It was the creative love of guitar building. It was organic. I guess that's the best way I can put it. Yeah. I love this. I want to do this. And what do you think? Go for it. And okay, I'll do it.
Wow. That's wonderful to have that kind of freedom.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the guys here, the people in leadership, you know, they're very encouraging. All the guys here, man, they're very, very, I mean, there's a sense of, you know, a healthy competitive, you know, spirit in there. But at the same time, we all help each other. And I think that's what makes us unique. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, like Ron Thorne, Paul Waller, Scott Buell, Greg Fessler, all these guys have really, I've taken a lot from them because they've shown me, they're open. Dennis Galuska, all these guys, you know, we're all brothers, you know what I mean? We're like a big family, and we all help each other out. Dale Wilson, all these guys, they have great talent, and they shine through, and they've created the thing that separates them from you know, the rest of the builders. And so, and it's really cool to see. It's like whenever I'm scrolling through like Instagram, I see a guitar and I stop and I automatically know, oh, that's a Dale Wilson, or oh, that's a Todd Krause, or that's a, you know, that's a Ron Thorne. It's like you know, it's just they have certain little details, and then even by the way that they sound the necks and they do the fret ends, it's like, oh, that's Paul. You know, I don't even have to look at the name. You know what I mean? That's cool. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing.
I love that you're like so intimately familiar with the hallmarks of each builder's style and their quirks and what they pay attention to. I want to let you know, like, not to like blow you up or anything, but that's how a lot of us feel about you. Frequently, I will have. I mean, you know my work. Like we have spoken over Instagram, and I will frequently get messages of people like, "Oh my God, did you see the new Carlos?" Like, that's a thing. That's a discussion that's happening in the guitar world, and it's all you, man. Like you're part of that rich legacy, that tapestry of Fender Custom Shop.
That's cool. That's cool. That's cool to hear. That's really cool. I don't take that for granted. That's amazing. I don't, you know, that Fender has given me the platform to showcase my skills, and that in itself is so cool and humbling. It's just, you know, because I know what it's like to, you know, be on the opposite side of that, where, you know, you have a guitar company that's just barely coming out, and nobody really pays attention because everybody's done the same things. But
yeah,
one thing that you can't take away from Fender is the history, the roots, and the name. You know, and it's really, that's a, you know, if you're gonna play like with the heavyweights, man, you gotta bring it, man. That's really tough to compete against, you know. But I'm lucky enough and blessed enough to be a part of Fender, and, you know, I don't think I'd ever want to go off and do my own thing. Fender's been really good to me, and I love Fender. So, man, I want to stay with this company till I retire.
That's good to hear, because, Bud, we're all rooting for you. We love what we see from you.
Oh, thanks.
You old softy. I did a little bit of background research, and I scrolled all the way back on your Instagram to 2011, and I saw that you're not just a builder, but you're also a musician. You are a player. Can you tell me how you got around to the guitar? Like, what was the instigating incident for you? What was it that made you want to play and get into the guitar world?
It was my grandfather. He bought us, me and my brother. I have a younger brother. He bought my brother a guitar, and it was just, you know, some cheapy nylon string guitar. And he played it a couple of times, and there was no interest on it. So it was sitting under our bed for, you know, a few months, and I picked it up and started messing with it. And it's a weird thing, like looking back on it, like, you know, when somebody has some sort of musical talent, you know, by just guitar is easy for some people just to really fall into and start playing, you know, compared to other people that they struggle, you know, it just doesn't connect, you know. And for me, it was kind of natural, you know. It was just, I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew enough to hear the different notes and how to make them come out. And so that's where I started. I just was messing around, and I liked it, and I really haven't put it down since. So that's where I started. It was my grandfather giving us the guitar, and that's a cool thing. You know, you never know what's going to happen. You know, you could just guitar, any instrument as a gift, man. You have no idea where it would lead somebody to. You know what I mean? It opens the doors and it's a cool thing just to even think about. Just, you know, even my kid, I don't force my kids to play, but it's so cool. I had my pedal board set up with my amp, and, you know, and I have a few guitars that, you know, I don't get mad at my kids if they hit them. I want them to express themselves, or even if they mess it up, I'll fix it, you know. But I never get mad at them for touching the guitar. And so, anyways, my son, he grabs the guitar, he plugs in my pedal board, and he's making sounds, and he's interested in it, and he's pressing the pedals, and the delay, he's messing with the delay, and he doesn't really know how to play, but he puts it on his lap, and he's listening, and he's just, and it's so cool. It was just like, it almost brings me to tears a little bit, because it's like he's expressing himself through through music, and it's causing him something, and he's very in tune with himself. Or, he's that type of person. We're listening to music, or we're listening to the soundtrack to Over the Garden Wall. This I don't know if you've heard it before. It's a cartoon, and they have a soundtrack to it, and the music on it. I just love the music. It's by the band, I think it's called the Blasting Company. But anyways, he listens to it, and he connects, the cartoon with the music, and so it's all a thing. Anyways, it invoked something in him, and it made him emotional. And he said, because in the cartoon, one of the kids, in the something happened to him, and he got emotional about it. He started crying, and it was the music that stirred up those emotions in him. So he has like he understands what music does to people at a young age. My son's only 7. He knows, and it's such a cool thing that he doesn't know how to play, but he's experimenting, and he's hearing different sounds. It's such a cool thing, man.
It's the coolest thing.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not going to force him. If he wants to play, and I have the tools for you to want to play. Go for it. Yeah, do it. So that's cool. That's a beautiful thing about music.
That must be wonderful to see that blossoming in your own child. Was music that powerful for you at that age?
Yeah. I remember, when I was a kid, I was, listening to the radio, and then waiting for your favorite song to come up, and then pressing record, and then, recording it on the tapes. You remember that? I'm sure you remember that.
I did exactly the same.
Yeah. And then you have the whole tape with all your favorite songs. And I remember, I would go to bed playing all my songs, and, I would go to sleep like that, every night, listening to my favorite songs on my cassette tape. And, and that's why I said you identify with these bands, with this music, because in some point in your life, something was happening that reminds you, of what happened through that song. And so that's why we connected. We identify with music, and it's such a powerful thing, And so, yeah, music was very important to me and my family. There's always music going on. And, my dad, he's from Central America, from Honduras. And so he brought a lot of his music that he grew up with.
Oh, wow.
But he came when he was, 8 years old, and they came to the United States. And, he grew up with rock and roll. He grew up, he introduced me to, he had all the tapes too. And I remember vividly driving through Pasadena, and we're in his truck going down, I think the 210, and he's playing the Cult. We're listening to the
Cult. Yes.
And we're driving, and I remember that every time I hear the Cult, it brings me back to that day driving through Pasadena with my dad and listening to the Cult. I was like, yeah. So all these mixtures of music and from anything is just like, so my mom and dad were really, it's because of them that I love music, probably.
Does anybody else play in your family?
My grandmother, she played piano, and so
cool.
She was she was good. She was a good player, and I have, memories of my grandma playing. And then I remember this, here's a short little story. Whenever my grandma would play, we all would just get quiet. Whatever we're doing, mid-conversation, stop and just listen. And then, when the younger kids or somebody was talking, we would tell them to be quiet until my grandma was finished playing piano. It was just the respect for music. It was because you have to, I don't know what it was. I think it was just the respect of her playing, her sharing, because it's emotional, and her sharing her music with us. And sometimes she wouldn't even say anything. She would just play, and we would just be quiet until she was done. And it was just like, man, I remember those. I remember that. You know, that's beautiful. You know, and I try to teach my kids that too. Is this, you know, if somebody's playing, be quiet and listen.
Oh,
And you know,
well, it's very different from my experience as a kid. Every time my dad would pick up the trombone, my mom would go. That's lovely, and what a powerful thing to teach your children as well, to respect music that much and to understand that it's a practice and an art form and something someone has spent a ton of time on. So listen up. Oh, that is, God, what a wonderful, rich history you have with music. Let me ask you so the bridge between playing music and building, what happened? Where along the line did you become interested in creating instruments?
Well, it wasn't, you know, I didn't really have like a driving passion to start building guitars. You know, I, like a lot of guys in LA, you know, you go through all the, you know, the bar circuits in Hollywood, you know, whiskey, the you know, the I forget all
Guilty.
the knitting factory. Remember the knitting factory?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We used to play there, you know, and just doing that thing. It was so much fun. It was fun. And it got to the point, you know, where I had to make a decision what I wanted to do. You know, I had to pick a career, you know, and I think I was wise enough to know at that time I need to, sorry about that.
Making my way downtown. Was that it? Was that what you?
What was I going to say? Oh yes, but I remember there was an article. No, there's a little advertisement for the MI course in Hollywood at the Music Institute, and my mom brought it up, and she said, "Oh, I think this would be pretty good for you." And so I thought about it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, let's do it. I'll try it." And so I did. And so that's where I learned all the foundational stuff of, you know, redoing a refret, you know, make a guitar. It laid down a good foundation for me to start off, and I wasn't good at it at all. And
same here.
My first guitar was horrible. It was trash. And so that, you know, so I didn't really think about, oh, I'm going to be a master builder at Fender. I was like, oh, this is fun. I got enough chops, or I got enough skills to be a tech, you know, with some bands. That's what I wanted to do. To go travel, be, you know, the side guy, traveling with bands, because it wasn't for me. It wasn't the being on stage and playing. It was just being in that atmosphere of that excitement of being in the clubs, you know, and traveling. I think I like that more than I just wanted to be in it. You know what I mean? And so I thought this would be my way in, but that never happened. And so I got hired at Fender, you know, right after I graduated, and just little by little, I did. You know, I started from doing the production model stuff, and you know, I was, oh, I could do this, and so I did that for a year, and then I remember I would see all the custom shop guys, and I would peek into the custom shop and say, oh, that's pretty cool. And I really forced my way in. I talked to the manager at the custom shop at the time, and I said, I build guitars, and I showed him my crappy guitar, and he said, oh, okay. And so he gave me a shot, and that's really how it happened. And so
that's incredible. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't nearly as bad as you make it out to be, probably through hindsight or whatever, but that's incredible that you were able to show them this guitar that you made, and they were like, yeah, okay, there's potential.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And then so he gave me the opportunity, and I just ran with it. And so I just it didn't take me that long to really get in a place where I was always learning. I would look back each year and say, oh, I'm learning more. And then by that time I had a little shop going in my garage, and you know, I started to build on my own. And then I would show all the master builders, you know, hey, look what I did. I'll show them pictures, you know. And then it just years and years and years of doing that where I got to a point where it was like, oh, maybe I could become a master builder now. You know what I mean? Or it, it got to a place where I was confident that I could hang with the best of them, you know, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to shoot for this. And so opening came up to be an apprentice for Todd. I took it, and he took me under his wing, and we did some really cool projects. And, you know, it was a glimpse into the other side, you know, because you got the custom shop, the team built stuff, and then the master built stuff. And then you don't really see, you know, the behind the scenes of what goes on, and how do you prepare, you know, how do you organize yourself, you know, how do you make time to be creative, you know. And so it was like a juggling act, you know, but you know, I really learned a lot doing stuff on my own, making mistakes, and asking these guys how to make it better or how to do it right. And so I have to give a credit to all those guys, because they really shaped me and molded me to, you know, the builder that I am now, you know, especially Scott Beal. He's helped me a lot. He's kind of been my mentor, and, you know, he's a good friend and great builder. And I just, whenever he's talking and he's trying to show me something, I shut up and I listen, because I know he has a lot of wisdom. And so all those guys, you know, I respect them. So I'd be quiet and I'd listen. And I think that's how I've been able to grow and be a better builder. I think that's what it is.
So when you were just starting out as a builder, what would you say was the most difficult or vexing part of the process for you?
I never stuck with one way of doing things. And I tried different ways to be more efficient, to be, you know, so it takes less time. So, you know, I would create jigs to make the process to become easier. And the thing that was the part that I really I didn't enjoy as much is shaping necks. I don't know why. I just it was something that I found a way so it doesn't take me as long and my hands aren't hurting. And so, you know, I came up with a jig that I could hog out a lot of the material with the round over bit on my pin router, and it just hogs it all out. And, you know, and I could be able to you know, to use the rafts to you know, to finish it off. But doing necks by, you know, by hand, I really didn't enjoy that. That's why I try to figure out a better way to do it, and more efficient and you know, way. And so I tried all the ways. And so now where I'm at right now is I'm really into CNC, and I want to get better at that, because I've always been I built them by hand. But now coming into the CNC, it's just a whole new set of skills that you have to learn. You have to learn how to you know, to do the CAD drawings, and you got to learn how to program. You have to figure out ways how to hold something in place. You have to make jigs to hold things in place. So it's a different ball game. It's a different way of building. So it's almost like I'm relearning how to build through it's a different art form. It is. And you know, making guitars by hand it's totally an art form.
Yeah.
It is, no doubt about it. But the CNC part of it, it's a different kind of art form, because if you don't know how to, you know, to draw up something or program what you want to cut, you know, the feeds and speeds, what cutter, what's the right cutter, you know, how to do 3D cuts, you know, or how to make a carved top and draw the carved top and cut the carved top. You know, it's just so much. It's like a new way of building. And so that's where I'm at right now. That's where I guess have evolved to. You know, hand building is, oh yeah, I love it. It's just, it's personal. It's so personal. You're forming something with your hands, you know, and using hand tools to get to where you want to get to, and getting the shape. And, you know, especially even though I kind of just don't like it, but at the end result, when you feel the neck and you're very intimate with it. It's just like this block of wood that, you know, it's a living thing, and it moves and it has its own, you know, tonal properties, and you're forming it and you're shaping it in a way that feels good, and it's a tool for people to express it. So it's so involved. It's so much. It's when you really think about it, like, you know. So I've grown. All that to say, I've grown to love guitar building, and it's something that I didn't know that I loved, but doing it, I've fallen in love with it. That's, I guess, the best way I could describe it.
So your output as a master builder has been especially exciting for fans of offset guitars, because it seems like you tend to focus on those. Although I've seen some Strats and Tellys from you before, maybe a bass or two now that I'm spooling up in my mind. I said about the Brawler earlier that was where I became first aware of your work. But then you followed it up with that green Electric 12. And I wanted to ask, like, what is it about these offbeat models that keeps you coming back? It seems like you're championing some of them, and it's really exciting to see, like the 12 and the Marauder.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, is this, those guitars were just, you know, haunting me every day. When I'd walk into work, I'd see them hanging in the hallways, and, you know, I think I became aware of them because of, you know, seeing them at work every day. And I would ask, you know, why don't we do those guitars? You know, do we have templates for them? And so that, all right, so the Electric 12 was the last guitar that Leo Fender worked on, and he designed the bridge for that guitar, and then he sold it. He sold the company to CBS, and so that was the last guitar that he had his hands on. But so all of the templates, all of the drawings, we don't have them. We don't have. I'm sure. You know, they're out there somewhere, but we don't have them. I don't have them. And so, but we have an original 65 hanging on in the hallway. So I took it apart, and, you know, that's kind of, I took it apart and we copied it, and it's identical to the one that we have here. So all the ones that I make are identical to the one that is hanging in the hallway. And so
I have to say, it was especially exciting in offset communities for this bridge to come back. Everybody was immediately freaking out, it seemed like, because getting these is impossible. Like, I know people who have built Electric 12 copies, but they've bought, say, you know, one of the Vista Series Venus guitars. The 12s had this bridge as well, and that was like the only way you could get them. So did you pulled this apart, and then did you machine this yourself?
No, no. So we do have some drawings of the bridge, and so it wasn't an exact copy, and so the bridge itself is identical to a 65. The only difference was the saddles and the springs, and so I had Scott Buell made me an identical set to the 65. So all the ones that I make are exactly like the 65.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I had the guitar there. I had to make it, because that's the thing that, you know, besides the pickups, it's the bridge that separates that whole guitar. That's like the most important part, is that bridge. So I made it a point for it to be accurate. And I think it's exactly like the original. And so even on you know, underneath the adjustable bridge, there's a little brass plate underneath. Those things, you know, nobody sees that. You know what I mean? It's like that needs to be on there. You know what I mean? All those small, even like the shielding plates, that needs to be. I'm not going to use the shielding paint. I need to make the shielding exactly how it was. And so And so I did the best I could to make it accurate as possible. And it wasn't the only thing that they don't make anymore is those Duco knobs. And so I found like a handful of them. And so I bought them, you know, right away. And so I have like a handful of them. And I'm always like on eBay, you know, trying to find those parts that they don't make anymore. You know what I mean? It's just, I got to get those, you know what I mean? It was those small little details matter to me. And I know it matters to a lot of people that love these guitars.
It sounds like you and I have very similar habits of finding obscure parts on the internet and buying them in bulk when you can. I did the same thing with old Starcaster knobs. That was a big get for me a few years back. Witch hat knobs from Gibson's, like those are, the reissues are weird and the originals are so hard to find. Like when you find somebody who has like 10 of them, you're like, any price, I'll take it. That's so cool that you have such a care and a love for these like obscure parts that kind of complete the look. Like they are maybe not functionally important, the knobs, but they do make a difference to the look and the feel and the vibe of the thing. And that's, it feels like that sums up your building. And you bring that same care to unreleased guitars like the Marauder. Can we please talk about the Marauder and how like you're bringing that back in a big way? For our audience, if you don't know, the Marauder was a prototype. I think there were like 8 of them made, and there were a few versions of it. One with fan frets that's insanely cool, hidden pickups. But you are specifically focusing on the Marauder 2, correct? The one with the exposed pickups. And can you tell me about that?
I brought one here.
It must be my birthday. That's so cool. Look at that thing.
I thought you'd like it.
Oh, I so do. My heart is so full. Thank you. Tell me about that. What was it like to pull that blue one out of the case? I've seen that blue one when I visited the factory, and it's the coolest guitar ever. You know, what's the deal? Tell me about that process.
Oh man, I love that guitar so much. It's, you know, it was another one, you know, that I would see every morning, and it was like, what the hell is up with that guitar? You know, and so anyway, I found a book that that has a brief like history on it, and then Mark Kendrick, one of the veteran builders here, his uncle knew Gene Fields. They were friends. The one that designed the Marauder and the Starcaster, they were friends. And so Mark Kendrick said that he had 2 of the prototypes, you know, at his house a few times, and he would see them come and go. And he played them as growing up as a kid. And, you know, those guitars are so cool. And and I said it before in one of the interviews, just like, people just didn't get it. It was too ahead of its time. And it was just like, now it's the perfect time when
people are used to so many switches on their guitars now. We're all throwing delay units in our guitars and making weird noises. So like, it's so exciting that you were able to get your hands on that. So you worked mainly with the one that's in the case in the Corona factory?
Yeah. So so why I chose, because, you know, they have some of them, the prototypes that have the Starcaster headstock, and then some that have the big peg. And I wanted to do the one with the big peg because that one, I wanted to model it after the one that we have, because the story behind that, I think you know that story, is that it was, this guitar has been floating around the factory for years, you know, and so they're doing inventory and they threw it away. And so George Blanda, he knew what it was. He picked it out of the trash, and the original one had it had an extra tuning key because they were trying to make it a 7-string for some reason. So George replaced it and put that 65 neck on it, and it's been like that since, I don't know, probably the 80s. So it hasn't been touched, and so I love that one. and I want to kind of pay, I didn't want to change it. I want to model it after how it's been for all this time, and that's how it's gonna be forever, is with the 65 neck and the body. The Marauders, that's just how it is. That's how George left it, and George just retired. So, and he just to, he's such a legend in Fender. So the way that he left it, that's the way it's going to be, and that's the way I want to do mine. So I'm not saying I won't do the Starcaster one at some point, but the way that it is now, this is how I love it.
Are we going to get a 7-string Marauder at some point? I want a 7-string Marauder.
Maybe.
When you were digging into that guitar, I imagine there's not a wiring diagram that exists, but there is a lot of switches and doodads. And can you tell me a little bit about what it was like to kind of resurrect that one?
Yeah, it was cool. So I opened it up, and I'm sure anybody would guess it was a rat's nest with all those wires. It was like I couldn't make sense of it. So I followed it back, and now I know what what they were going for. So the bottom horn control that has all switches, those are the on and off switches, and then there's like two other switches to the side, and those are series parallel switches. That and then on the bottom horn, or on the bottom volume tone control, the little switch is a kill switch, and then on the top is basically like your jazz master circuit, for the neck pickup. That's basically what it is. So it's just like a hybrid of all of them. But it was cool. I thought it was a good idea, but there was a lot of wiring, and it was pretty bad.
It seems like you have taken some license to experiment with all that extra routing space and all the extra wiring possibilities. It seems like you've put, am I correct in thinking there's a delay circuit in at least one of the ones that you've made?
Yeah, I made two, and the one that I made was, it was Matthew Logan Vasquez from Delta Spirit. He wanted a Marauder, and he wanted a delay in it. And because there's a few companies that do that, and so I'm sure he got that that idea from those guys. But when he started talking about it, I was like, oh man, it's gonna piss some people off, but I want to do it because it's I never done anything like that before, so I was like, I want to do it, and I got excited about it, and so I did it, and so it was cool. I loved it. It was a great It was a great collaboration with Matt, and he was sending me pictures when he was recording their newest album. He used that guitar on the new record, and so it's a cool feeling when you get a guitar that it's all over a record that you made. That's always pretty cool to me.
And Delta Spirit's such a great band too. Like, congrats. That must be really exciting anytime your work ends up in the hands of a band that you like, or a record, anything like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. It's like, there's so many layers to it. You know what I mean? The band, they put their heart and soul into their music, but then you have a little bit of you have a little part in it by making the tools for them to create. And it's like, I got a little bit of the creativity. They're using my tool to make this amazing record, you know what I mean, that they poured into, but they chose to use your guitar, and that's heavy. I love that.
So your Marauders, I'm sure I haven't seen everything you've made, but your Marauders are using 2 humbuckers, gold foils?
Yeah,
generally?
so Matt wanted 2 humbucker, because when I was making the Marauder, I was going to make the same replica of the one that we have here, and so in between that time, I got hooked up with Matt, and so we've been talking about the Marauder, And so he wanted humbuckers, and he wanted the jazz master trim, and he wanted the delay, and said, so I had to redesign the whole thing. And so I still haven't made the original yet, but the one that me and Matt designed together, that one's cool. I like it. I like building those. Those are fun. And so I'll continue to build them until I find time to make the original. That's really where my heart's at, is that on that original.
I love it. I can't wait to see you bring that one back, especially with those interesting pickups. Those pickups are wild. Are you using Curtis Novak, or what were the
Curtis
pickups
Novak.
in this?
Yeah, I use a lot of Curtis's pickups, and it's weird. We're all like a little family, man. It's just I know some of his employees, and I know his wife, and they come into the shop, and they're like family. So anytime I have a special project where I need some good pickups, interesting pickups, different pickups, I always go to Curtis. He knows what I like, and we kind of have the same taste, and he knows what he's doing. And so the electric 12 pickups, they're exactly like the original, because he has an original, and the same thing with the bass 6. He has a bass 6, and he made those first generation pickups with the cover, with the strap pickups and the cover. Yeah, he made an exact replica of those. And so going to him was kind of a no-brainer when I wanted to get something that's accurate and vintage correct. Curtis. So yeah, it was no doubt I was going to use Curtis, because we think the same, and we have the same taste. So it was, anytime I have any projects, any cool projects, I want to get Curtis involved.
He's one of those makers that can create something based on the most vague descriptions. Like if I write him an email and I'm like, I need something that's angry and and contemplative still, and he's like, yeah, okay, I can do that. He just goes for it. His 12 pickups are fantastic. I've got some of those in a Jaguar, and his wide ranges are great. Like, that's really cool to see the camaraderie and the collaboration. The collaborative spirit seems alive in the Fender Custom Shop. Carlos, what is next on your docket? Like what's the next thing you want to tackle? What's the next model that you want to like champion and bring back?
I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about it, and it's always the moment where inspiration sparks, you know what I mean? And it's weird. It happens at the weirdest time. Sometimes I'll be laying down and then something clicks in my head. It's like, oh, I should do that. And then I get really excited about it, but it hasn't come to me yet. I don't think I'm finished exploring the possibilities with the Marauders and 12 yet. So we'll see what happens.
Do you find that you often have to like finish a project before you can move on then?
Yeah. I get obsessed with something, and I'll be obsessed with it for, however long it takes for me to feel satisfied with it. And then, but then at the same time, something else comes up, and then I can't do two things at the same time, I guess. I don't know why. I just get hyper focused on what I'm doing at that point, I don't know. It's a weird thing. And so I don't know. I really don't know. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I love these Marauders that I'm making, the baritones, the electric 12s, finding new ways to do relicking, tellies. I love tellies. It's just finding new neck shapes, that introducing shapes that I think players don't know that they like. I like to do that a lot, and one that's come up often and kind of overlooked, I think, is the 1056V that has the V and then it tapers down to like a C.
Yeah.
And so that I always show people that, and they're like, "Oh, what's this? I never felt this before. This feels great." And most often that's what they go for. A lot of the artists that I've worked with, tend to pick that next. I like that. I like that stuff. I like going into clubs. I like hearing bands play. and you know, people that that like the journeyman players, they're at the bars, man. They're hauling their own gear in, you know what I mean? And they need a guitar that's reliable and that's just, their number one. And they choose to, spend that money to get your guitar because they know it's reliable and they know they're confident in my abilities to get them where they need to go or to feel at home with a guitar. That's I like that a lot. You know what I mean? I like to interact with artists to help them to how do I say it? To help them get to the place that they are dreaming of getting. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just like a feeling. It's a sound. They hear it. Like Eric Johnson, like he knows what he wants and he hears it in its head, and he's explaining it to you what he wants, but he doesn't know how to really articulate it. He says it in the best way that he can. He says, I need it to sound like this and look like this and feel like this, and the frets need to be like that. It's like a vague description, but because you know that language, it's a weird thing, and I dig stuff like that.
That's interesting that I don't know if you did this consciously, but that was something that Leo Fender, Freddie Tavares would do often, is walk into clubs in Fullerton and just hand guitars out and say, what do you think of this? And, get them in the hands of a player who's got a 3-hour gig like that. And that was where they got a lot of feedback. That's really cool that you're not just carrying the tradition of the models, but also the kind of the ethos, the kind of working relationship that Fender had with musicians. Like, that's incredible.
I did take that from Leo. He did that, and that's such a smart thing. It's just like the people that are playing it will give you the best feedback. And, and I'm not at that level of a musician to really understand what they need and what the different genres and how they want it to sound, how to feel, because I have just one perspective of what I like. And so getting perspective and ideas from people that are in the clubs playing, and they tell you, I need this, I need that, it needs to be like this, it needs to sound like this, I need it to cover a whole, wide variety of genres, you know what I mean? It's like, how do I get there? And then we figure it out. And sometimes it doesn't work the first time, go back and say, oh, try this. And it's like, there, you got it. And I love that. That's cool. That's cool for me.
Refinement. That is such a great process to be part of. So you are loving feedback from musicians, players, people who are like giving you the what's what about the instruments you're making. What are your influences within the guitar world? Do you have any builders, anybody that you're looking to and you're like, I love that, I love what's going on here, and it's infecting what you do?
Oh, sorry, say that again.
What are your guitar building influences?
Oh, geez, guitar building influence, Leo Fender, of course. It's just
the man.
But yeah, it was just like, but even these smaller companies, man. Oh man, they do great work. I mean, like can't think of who kind of I don't know if I should name them, but it was a good one. Sully Guitars. I really like his guitars, man. I like Gene Baker guitars. I like the Veritas guys. I like what they're doing. You know what I mean? I like all those small boutique builders, man. They do such great work, and I get inspired by them. And I love the guitar building community. That they are, everybody kind of feeds off each other, and but at the same time, man, my only gripe is that they got to give credit to the ones that started it. The Fender, you got to give credit to these guys, you know what I mean? Because a lot of these guys, their base models are Fender models, and that's just kind of no way around it, because everybody wants a Strat or a Tele, you know, and if you want to get your feet through, you know, the industry, you got to start making, you know, a version of a Stradatelli. But
for sure.
so but other than that, man, they're finding a way to be creative and create new things. And I love that. I love what they're doing. It's great.
What about influences outside of the guitar world? I know a lot of builders take inspiration from the automotive industry or from architecture. Like, do you have anything like that that influences you?
Yeah, it's just everything. It's like everything really. It's just music, artists that inspire me to make the baritone. You know, Mark Lettieri, you know, he inspired me to make a baritone, because he made that the baritone album. I love it. It gives me chills just, you know, thinking about it. And you know, anybody that's the guitar player I forget his name, Luke Mawson from the Night Sweats, and Nathaniel Rateliff, you know, it's just man, those players, you know, Glorietta, Delta Spirit, all these guys that are in the clubs, you know, and you can never fool anybody with something that's like fake, you know what I mean? It's just like we always see through it, and these guys, they're poets, man. It's just like they're putting their heart and soul and their talent, and you know, it's me. People like that inspire me to make a great guitar for them, you know what I mean? And so everything inspires me. Everything, you know, I can't really, like, it's never a formula that I go by. It's something that I heard, or something that I saw, or you know, a color that I saw, you know, a car that has a unique color. It's like, oh, that would look cool on a guitar, stuff like that. Or, you know, architecture, I guess, you know, art, and anything. It's just, I find inspiration in everything. And that's the cool part about being, you know, artistic and given the freedom to be artistic. And, you know, I think that's cool. I draw inspiration from all sorts of things, I guess, you know, thinking about it. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Carlos, there's so many other things I would love to ask you, but I'm being told that we are running a little over, so we're going to have to wrap up. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk to me. It's so good to meet you.
You too, man.
And again, just such a huge fan of what you're doing. Like, keep up the good work. We're all loving it.
Thank you so
of
much.
course.
Hey, man, you got to come down. You got to come down to the shop,
all right.
man.
All right.
We'll take you to lunch. We'll do all the things.
I'm coming.
All right.
We'll do it.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out. I've been Mike for Guitar.com Live. Carlos Lopez, one of the coolest master builders around. Stay tuned for more great content, and we'll see you in the next one.